Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, Night Without Borders. Chapter 231, The Strongest Young Guard. Author, Chen Dong. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. The fiery red maple forest was filled with falling leaves, as if tinged with the melancholy of autumn. Combined with the sword intent released by Qin Ming, which snapped the grass at the ground, a bone-chilling cold permeated the air, thick with killing intent. He was truly astonished. The opponent had blocked several of his strikes and even withstood his two ultimate techniques, her strength far exceeding expectations. Clearly, both were wary of each other, finding their opponent's performance far beyond their predictions. Qin Ming was suspicious of her identity. Could she be an immortal seed from the real world? He'd never seen or heard of such a thing. Her words and demeanor suggested she was more like an ancient person. Yet, the woman's consciousness spiritual light felt too real, unlike anything he'd encountered before. In that case, he would release his full power and gauge whether this woman was a real person or an ancient ghost, and just how high her cultivation level reached. There was only one way to find out. Qin Ming channeled the 5 qi, causing the 5-colored light wheel around his body to spin at high speed, making his flowing hair glisten like crystal. The 5-colored sword in his hand hummed and roared, as if straining to break free and soar through the air. In the next instant, he lifted himself off the ground, activating the sword control technique. His physical body and the 5-colored sword seemed to fuse into one, and divine radiance illuminated the fiery red maple forest. As the night vanished, the area blazed as bright as day. The 5-colored light illuminated every leaf and branch, their veins and structures standing out in sharp relief. Sword light flashed everywhere. Qin Ming rode his sword through the air, a streak of 5-colored lightning. He struck with such speed and overwhelming power that he swept through obstacles like a destructive force. Along his path, everything that stood in his way, ancient trees, sprawling branches, even falling red leaves, disintegrated under the sword's light. He split them in two, only for them to explode into fragments. The purple-clad woman, her sleeves billowing, channeled her consciousness spiritual light, transforming it into what seemed like a pure young immortal sword. As she blocked, the forest floor erupted in a blizzard of red leaves, which then shattered into dust. The two figures, Qin Ming in his blue robes and the stunning purple-clad woman in her purple robes, clashed like lightning, their strikes colliding in a flurry of motion. In the blink of an eye, they would brush past each other. Who is that? How dare they fight within the maple forest? Don't they know this is a forbidden place? The very sanctuary where senior sister Chu communes with her spirit. Ordinary disciples wouldn't even dare set foot here. Many ancient disciples in the area were startled, unable to believe someone would damage the maple forest. Their shock soon turned to astonishment as they saw a figure wielding a sword, not only hacking through the trees but also engaging in combat with the legendary Senior Sister Chu. For years, Senior Sister Chu Pianren has rarely made an appearance. She came here today to commune with her spirit, only to be brazenly provoked. An awakener is rising. He's actually held on this long without falling. Qin Ming faintly overheard the disciples' discussions in the distance, his heart stirred. This woman was clearly an ancient being, so why wasn't she a mere illusion? He had verified this through spiritual resonance. Are all ancient guards really this outrageous? How can one be so powerful? But, why do I get the feeling that he seems more like an outer saint? Could it be that he, like us, hails from the outside world? He is clearly an awakener, yet he's bold enough to challenge that ancient immortal maiden who had been residing here to commune with her spirit. More figures appeared, their discussions and perceptions completely different from those of the earlier ancient disciples. Qin Ming realized these were immortal path disciples, like himself, from the outside world, here to play their roles. Such people might be able to discern his origins. After entering the role, he was now an intersect disciple in this place. Almost none of the ancient disciples found anything amiss with him, nor did they perceive him as a mere guard. It was as if he had exploited some loophole. Only the purple-clad woman sensed he was a guard, and she saw it at a glance. Only living beings should be able to discern my true nature, yet she, an ancient spirit, had actually managed to see through him at a glance. The thought filled him with dread. Could this woman's true form still exist, still alive? The purple-clad woman's features were as exquisite as a painting, her every movement graceful and elegant, like a dancing spirit. Yet when she struck, her power was overwhelming. After a fierce battle, Qin Ming stood with his sword sheathed. His expression was more serious than ever before. He had truly encountered a formidable opponent, one he dared not underestimate. Beyond the 5-colored light wheel surrounding him, 3-colored divine radiance flowed, and his 8 extraordinary techniques resonated in harmony, creating an extraordinary spectacle that coalesced into a protective barrier. At that moment, Qin Ming appeared utterly transcendent, as if untouched by dust. His skin glowed like divine jade, radiating a precious luster, and the Tao's essence shimmered at the corners of his eyes and brows. This truly comes as a surprise. I once tested my sword against the world's greatest warriors. How many of my peers could withstand my full power? Yet you, a mere guard, have actually reached this level. Chu Pianren's purple robes fluttered amidst the fiery red maple leaves. Though she was a manifestation of pure yang spiritual light, she appeared indistinguishable from a living body. What is senior sister Chu talking about? Wasn't he an inner sect disciple? How did he become a guard? Ah, my mind is reeling. There were the murmurs of the ancient disciples. They were bewildered, for as characters within the play, this situation surpassed their understanding. All of them frowned. Hiss, this is defying the heavens. An awakener from our outside world has entered the ancient immortal world through this play and is actually able to rival the most renowned immortal Chu in this realm. Indeed, he can rival a fragment of her consciousness spiritual light, but they seem to be on the same level. This is utterly unbelievable. Without a doubt, this was the discussion of people from the outside world. Qinming even glanced around and recognized some old acquaintances, like Chen Bingyan and Lu Junyi, whom he had met when he was still Qichong. There were also Ren Yiping and Sun Jingtian, whose status was exceptionally elevated as core disciples of the Beyond the Mortal Realm. He had seen them at the Luofu Immortal Mountain ruins. They couldn't believe that an outsider could rival the most legendary immortal maiden of the ancient immortal realm. After all, she was the first in line to succeed the sect leader of that Dao lineage. Are you an ancient being who has survived all the way into the outside era? Qinming asked. However, the other party offered no response. A hint of curiosity flickered in Chu Pianren's beautiful eyes as she scrutinized him. Qinming stood motionless, 8 colors of light swirling around his body, resembling a youthful deity standing in the pure land, exuding an aura of sanctity and transcendence. His 8 extraordinary techniques resonated in harmony, and he felt no concern about being remembered. After all, upon reaching the second realm, he would begin refining otherworldly essence and other substances, causing his manifestation of heavenly light to change continuously. Bathed in divine radiance, he appeared more like an immortal than a spirit god, bearing no resemblance to the guard described by the purple-clad woman. At that moment, Qinming's entire being resonated with the sound of a sword, as if an immortal sword from beyond the heavens had descended, accompanied by 8 miraculous phenomena, slashing forward. He merged with the 8-colored heavenly light sword, soaring through the air on the sword as one, and charged forward with thunderous force. In an instant, 9-colored light bloomed between Chu Pianren's brows. Immortal swords materialized one after another, forming a pure yang sword formation, each radiating the brilliance of a blazing sun. The pure yang swords arranged themselves around her, then unfurled like the wings of a phoenix, slowly expanding in midair to form a resplendent forest of pure yang swords. Sacred yet terrifying, they slashed toward the 8-colored heavenly sword. In an instant, the two clashed fiercely, their attacks and counterattacks erupting in a dazzling display of light. Pure yang spiritual light and great sun-like heavenly light force scattered like sparks, igniting the entire maple forest. For ordinary immortal path disciples, Qinming's heavenly light force would have quickly burned through their consciousness spiritual light. But against this woman, it proved far more difficult. Now, Qinming was no longer limited to sword techniques. He seamlessly integrated extraordinary techniques and various combat skills, such as the Blazing Sun Sword technique, Wind Thunder Sword Control technique, and the Overlord Halberd, all at his fingertips. The Silk Book emphasized fusion and the unification of all techniques. He was gradually merging all his core combat styles into a single, unified approach, thus growing stronger with each passing moment. Amidst the clanging of steel and the glinting of swords, sword intent surged in all directions. The 8-colored swords streaked past in rapid succession, illuminating the pale face of the purple-clad woman, each edge coming dangerously close. The ancient disciples stared in stunned silence. How could a mere youth fight senior sister Chu to this extent? It's utterly surreal. Finally, as her pure yang consciousness spiritual light began to shatter, 2 of Chu Pianren's pure yang immortal swords, which had unfurled like phoenix wings, snapped. She retreated swiftly. The crowd saw that a corner of her purple sleeve had been sliced off. A crimson gash appeared on her alabaster cheek, and a strand of her raven hair fluttered down. This was her pure yang body, bleeding meant she was injured, and the blood looked no different from real blood. Chu Pianren's wondrous physique was slender and elegant, and her peerlessly beautiful face was streaked with blood. These wounds gave her an aura of battle-worn resilience. In the distance, the ancient disciple stood in stunned silence, not a sound to be heard. Chu Pianren murmured to herself, to actually injure me. This is merely a manifestation of my consciousness spiritual light. My true form isn't here, only a fragment of consciousness spiritual light. Under those circumstances, perhaps such a result is not entirely inexcusable. The people from the outside world were horrified. If even a fragment of pure yang consciousness spiritual light was so terrifying, what would her true form be? And how far was that from her true form? Chu Pianren's expression shifted. Even so, she said, among guards of your level, you would undoubtedly be the first. In my era, there were never guards like you. At the same cultivation level, you could likely rival the strongest disciples of any sect. She transformed into a shower of light and departed, not lingering in the maple forest. Only the crimson leaves continued to fall in a cascade. The ancient disciples felt their minds reeling. They were characters in a play, unable to distinguish reality from illusion. Why had Senior Sister Chu spoken that way? Could the familiar inner sect disciple truly be a guard? The people of the outside world were stunned. This awakener had received such high praise from the heir to the immortal Dao lineage, the strongest young guard. For them, this was explosive news. Could there truly be an outer saint with such terrifying potential in this era? It can't be our old friend, can it? Chen Bingyan asked via mental transmission, her voice filled with doubt and wonder. Lu Junyi shook his head. Definitely not. While he once displayed extraordinary talent on the path of awakening, he shouldn't have reached this level. At the deepest part of this vast immortal Dao lineage, within a crystal coffin, Chu Pianren fully awoke. Master, the immortal nectar in the coffin is thinning, and Kunling has changed. We should seize this opportunity to alter our original course and break out. As the immortal mist flowed, it revealed multiple crystal coffins in this area, each containing a life form stirring to life. Qin Ming pondered. If my status here improves again, I must seize this chance. I'll use the resources of the immortal Dao lineage to verify my techniques and experiment on my awakening path that lies ahead. Perhaps there's some extraordinary otherworldly essence here. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, Night Without Borders. Chapter 232, Testing the Techniques. Author, Chen Dong. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. You have emerged slightly victorious in the duel against the most legendary disciple of the Immortal Sect Dojo, and now you have already stepped onto the path of legend. But beware of pride and complacency, that was merely a fragment of Chu Pianren's consciousness spiritual light, far from her true form. The voice seemed to ring directly in Qin Ming's ear. He realized he had become fully immersed in the experience, it felt as if he had genuinely returned to ancient times to face a legendary figure of that era. The duel he had just fought felt utterly real. In this moment, he felt bathed in the glory of antiquity, like a new star rising slowly into the sky. At the very least, that's how the ancient disciples of the Dao lineage were looking at him. The Immortal Path disciples from the outside world were also lost in thought. The battle had shaken them profoundly. The strongest young powerhouse of the divine immortal era, surely, even if she were to exist in this era, wouldn't she still shine brightly? I hope she perished long ago and never lived to see this era. Otherwise, the trouble would be immense, Qin Ming mused. If the purple-clad woman's true form were to appear, she could easily crush him. Her cultivation was unfathomably deep, at the very least, within the third realm. Qin Ming sensed something amiss, a sudden unease, and then his hair stood on end. He sensed danger was imminent. He turned and fled without hesitation, multiple extraordinary techniques resonating within him. Yiwood essence qi, earth qi, and other energies surged forth, nearly boiling as they lifted him several inches off the ground as if he were soaring through the air. The very instant his feet touched the earth again, he immediately unleashed the dragon serpent scripture. Dragon serpent force erupted, black and white light swirling around his body. He soared through the air like a dragon, briefly gliding through the vast expanse. As his feet touched the earth again, Qin Ming unleashed the undying butterfly scripture. Wings of light materialized behind him, resembling the fluttering wings of a divine butterfly, translucent wings forged from heavenly light, propelling him, gliding a considerable distance. Throughout this process, he repeatedly pushed his speed to its absolute limits. Qin Ming pondered the source of this danger. Could that woman truly be alive, and now, in her fury, had she emerged to crush him? In the distance, a ball of blazing flames appeared, burning fiercely and radiating a crimson glow tinged with azure light. It rose from the depths of the divine immortal Taoist temple and hurtled toward him at breakneck speed. I've heard an awakener dared to tread upon the sacred ground where Senior Sister Chu communes with her spirit, offending her immortal countenance. If such disrespect goes unpunished, what order remains in our sect? A man's voice boomed from within the flames. Without a doubt, this was a manifestation of pure yang consciousness spiritual light, radiating terrifying power. In an instant, he transformed, a young man now wreathed in the crimson light of the blazing sun and surrounded by azure radiance, as if treading on azure clouds. This miraculous spectacle drew gasps from the ancient disciples. Senior brother Zhao. Zhao Shuyu, as a core disciple, you must not harm intersect disciples. A warning voice sounded. The young man in the sky shook his head. This mere awakener dares to cause trouble upon arrival. He must be punished. Even if I bend the rules slightly, I can bear the consequences. Qin Ming immediately understood. This was likely one of Chu Pianren's followers, willing to strike him down despite the ancient sect's rules. He didn't dare linger. Having entered with his true form, he didn't know if he could safely escape after being severely injured, like Zheng Mao's and Zheng Yuan. A guard. Zhao Shuyu was closing in, the red sun blazing with radiant light as he rode the azure clouds in swift pursuit. Qin Ming's expression shifted. Could this be yet another ancient figure who was still alive? Otherwise, all the ancient disciples were merely characters in a play, unable to sense his true condition. A third realm expert. As Qin Ming landed, he activated the golden cicada scripture. Within him, a cicada's hum resonated, accompanied by the thunderous roar of thunder. With a thunderous boom, Qin Ming's speed surged again, though he didn't lift off the ground. Behind him, Zhao Shuyu pointed his finger, and the pure yang light transformed into a long sword that slashed through the air at lightning speed toward Qin Ming's retreating figure. At the last moment, Qin Ming moved like a phantom crossing the sea of night mist, shifting his body and accelerating once more, just about to break free from the mist-shrouded mountain gate. Zhao Shuyu hissed softly, as if casting a spell. The pure yang sword materialized with dense immortal scripture, then exploded, engulfing the area ahead in a wave of energy. Qin Ming dodged swiftly, but still took a hit from the radiant energy. He immediately coughed up blood and was sent flying sideways. His heart chilled. The core disciples of ancient divine immortal Taoist temples were terrifyingly powerful after reaching the third realm. Even the residual energy had injured him. If he had faced them head-on, he wouldn't have stood a chance of survival. Who said role-playing was safe? Joining such a sect meant facing the possibility of being attacked by living core disciples. If Qin Ming had been a fraction of a second slower, he would have been slain. Now that he had emerged into the outside world, however, he no longer felt any fear. In the distance, two elders arrived instantly, moving like spirits or ghosts. What happened? Yu Zhensheng asked. I suspect there are living people in this Dao lineage, Qin Ming replied quickly. Zhao Shuyu clearly had no intention of giving up. He conjured another pure yang long sword, which shot forth like lightning, its blade light streaking past the mountain gate, indirectly proving he wasn't just a character in the play. Zhao Ziwan reached out and flicked his finger. The meter-long sword shattered, transforming into pure yang spiritual light that burned and dissipated completely. Zhao Shuyu's pupils contracted, and he retreated silently. Just a little discipline for the newcomer, to serve as a warning for others. It was not until he had gone far into the distance that he uttered this remark, as if trying to maintain his ancient persona. He is putting on an act. That cluster of consciousness spiritual light was real, Yu Zhensheng said, watching Zhao Shuyu's retreating figure. Given the cataclysm that struck Kunling back then. It's fascinating that someone from that era could have survived to this day, Zhao Ziwan mused. Qin Ming's expression turned grave. If he had been a step slower just now, it would have been a fatal trap. We'll stay nearby to guard while you go in again, Yu Zhensheng said. Qin Ming had already brought out some immortal path medicinal formulas, which greatly excited the two elders. Moreover, Qin Ming wanted to go in and test the path that lies ahead, to verify certain issues, so they naturally supported him wholeheartedly. Don't get too immersed in the play. It's just an experience that's nearly real. Your cultivation and power gained inside cannot be brought back out with you. And be wary of living people suddenly appearing. I know, Qin Ming nodded. He was well aware that the play contained genuine great medicines, exotic treasures, and more, far beyond a mere experience. Tiān, the play, mentioned in these chapters refers to the world Li Wei entered and the immortal Dao lineage he joined. However, this world is not real, it is a remnant experience left behind by a powerful figure from that era, allowing later generations to relive past events. However, he likely wouldn't obtain them, as they were probably all located in the areas where the ancient figures lived. The injuries Qin Ming sustained from the ancient living figures weren't just part of the role play, they were real and carried over into the real world. After a quarter of an hour, he entered the mountain gate again. Soon, a voice sounded in his ear, informing him that he had become a provisional core disciple. To become a true core disciple, he would have to defeat someone like Zhao Shuyu and replace him. The term, near immortal seed, probably didn't exist in ancient times. Core disciples were likely the highest-ranking disciples, already having reached the third realm. But never mind, for now, that level remains beyond my reach. Qin Ming wasn't deeply attached to this goal. Being a provisional core disciple was good enough. After immersing himself in the role play, he went to claim his resources and discovered that the quality of elixirs, food, clothing, and daily necessities had significantly improved. He was now attended by burly guards who served as his protectors, and other disciples became his followers. With a single word, he could order these people to assist him with various tasks. Moreover, during this simulated experience, if he focused intently on a particular task, he could seemingly turn the page and accelerate its progress, quickly advancing through days, months, or even years. Qin Ming was stunned. This method of testing techniques and engaging in trial and error allowed one to gain invaluable experience. It was no wonder that the Immortal Path disciples and esoteric sect disciples rushed here like madmen. I need all kinds of essence, spiritual essence, otherworldly essence, 9 heavens pure chi, and worldly treasures, he instructed the attendants beside him. As a provisional core disciple, he already had the authority to mobilize some precious resources for his use. During his first trial and error attempt, Qinming was somewhat casual in his approach, choosing to refine Mother Earth Qi, Netherworld Fire Qi, and otherworldly Pure Spirit Qi. The process was agonizing and dragged on for an extremely long time. During this period, he consumed vast quantities of substances provided by the divine immortal Taoist temple to enhance his spirituality, accumulate his cultivation, and master the wind control scripture, netherworld scripture, and withered scripture. He kept turning the pages to speed things up, eventually determining that he would need 1 to 2 years. Qinming was dazed. As a provisional core disciple of the divine immortal Taoist temple, with all resources stacked in his favor, it would still take so long to advance from the early to mid stages of the outer saint realm. If he were a rogue cultivator, how long would it have taken him to find these extraordinary substances, cultivate diligently, and refine them carefully? No wonder Meng Xinghai sighed bitterly, a single step required 10 years. This is definitely not going to work. Qinming shook his head. Afterward, he examined the heavenly light. The otherworldly essence and spiritual essence he had refined this time had indeed caused the heavenly light to change, its power increasing somewhat. However, the transformation fell far short of his expectations, failing to achieve a qualitative leap. The reason his heavenly light was so dominant and formidable was due to the exceptionally solid foundation he had laid during the first realm, surpassing even the 4 imperial forces in strength. The current changes in the heavenly light left him deeply disappointed. He reflected that he had failed to find any truly devastating otherworldly essence, nor had he diligently practiced the nurturing scriptures. Overall, his efforts had been inadequate. Qinming said, "Bring me the most precious, most bizarre otherworldly essence, and all the worldly treasures. I want to select them myself." He believed that choice was crucial. The otherworldly essence and spiritual essence he had used in the first refinement had been too haphazard. To achieve the strongest heavenly light, he needed to select some extremely dangerous substances. Someone informed him, "My apologies, senior brother. Your clearance level is insufficient to access those priceless otherworldly essences and otherworldly treasures." Qinming fell into a daze, his level wasn't high enough. He couldn't help but ask, what priceless, extraordinary substances are stored in our treasury? And what are their origins? There are quite a few. Some fell from the void, others were harvested from the deepest parts of the night mist world, some are the sole remaining relics of deities, some were extracted from fallen stars, and of course, there's the immortal resin native to Kunling. Qinming instinctively sensed that some of these items were peerless treasures. If they could be refined, they could nourish the heavenly light force, causing it to undergo a true qualitative transformation. But alas, he couldn't obtain them. These were accumulated over the countless ages of the divine immortal Taoist temple, and his qualifications were far from sufficient to access them. Immortal resin. Qinming found the name familiar, as if he'd heard of it before. It's the resin of the immortal tree. It can revive the dead and mend broken bones. In times of great calamity, our Dao lineage uses it to preserve some of our embers, the surviving legacy. It effectively freezes the passage of time, offering a form of immortality. Qinming immediately understood. In the divine temple of the fourth forbidden zone, that purple-clad woman had once invited him to drink fragrant mist tea. The ingredients contained within that aroma were priceless treasures, including powdered tips of the violet gold divine whale's horn, and tears of the firmament from the depths of the night mist world. Among these treasures was the resin of the immortal tree from the Kunling ruins. In fact, the fragrant mist tea Qinming had drunk that day was not genuine, but merely its incense ash. Yet even this inferior substance had granted him enlightenment, though its effect was less than 1% of the real thing. Now, hearing that the divine immortal Taoist temple's treasury contained the resin of the immortal tree, his mouth began to water uncontrollably. Is there anything particularly peculiar I can access? Qinming asked. Someone informed him, there are otherworldly discards from beyond the heavens, items that were ultimately discarded and buried because they were too dangerous to touch, as doing so could prove fatal. Bring them to me. I want to study them. Qinming's eyes lit up instantly. He knew well that different formulations and combinations of materials produced vastly different types of heavenly light. Some of these dangerous substances were precisely what he needed. The miraculous substances used by the founding ancestors to nurture heavenly light throughout the ages must have been bizarre and terrifying. In truth, he felt that once the heavenly light force underwent its ultimate transformation, all external substances should be shed, leaving only the pure essence. But during the process, he must venture into the night mist world to seek out strange and hunt down monsters, searching for unique forbidden objects, sources of immortal vitality, and other such treasures. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, Night Without Borders. Chapter 233, Defeating Both the Immortal and Divine Paths, 2 chapters combined. Author, Chen Dong. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. A swarthy female guard carefully placed several sealed jars on the table, then retreated to a safe distance. The jars were made of different materials, some of lead, others of spiritual crystals, and still others of exotic bones, but all bore the special runes of the divine immortal Taoist temple. An inner sect disciple explained, these jars all contain otherworldly relics, which are extremely dangerous. Once infected, most end up with no good outcome. Qin Ming nodded, then waved them away, preparing to handle the relics cautiously himself. He was deeply immersed in his role, fully committed to the task. As his mental focus intensified, he continuously pushed the process forward, advancing the trial. What's going on? 4 months later, a bulge had appeared on the side of his neck. When he examined it internally, he realized it was a head, nearly fully formed. Worse still, other parts of his body were also bulging. Was he undergoing a terrifying mutation? He quickly lowered his head to examine them closely. This chaotic growth of organs couldn't be allowed. It was a malignant growth, burdening his body, yet showing no miraculous development. What use was such a tumor? Qin Ming sighed inwardly. No wonder they were called otherworldly relics, all negative effects. At first, he considered studying the material to see if he could use heavenly light to neutralize its dangerous properties. If he could, he might be able to send opponents flying with a single palm strike, and with another, cause them to mutate and grow an extra leg. But he ultimately abandoned the idea. The cost far outweighed the reward. For every enemy killed, he would have to sacrifice 3 times as much of himself. The so-called search for forbidden objects isn't about finding the stranger or more bizarre. The stranger and more bizarre aren't necessarily stronger, Qin Ming sighed. Fortunately, this was just a play, an experience rather than a real ordeal. Otherwise, it would be truly monstrous. He continued his experiments, opening the second jar. Once again, he immersed himself in the experience, empathizing with the hardships and struggles of the outer saints. This time, the otherworldly essence was highly corrosive, severely eroding his flesh and blood. Once infected, it was nearly impossible to escape its grip. Qin Ming accelerated the passage of time. In his special vision, after prolonged exposure to the substance, he suffered a gruesome fate. Parts of his flesh dissolved. He shuddered. The experts at the divine immortal Taoist temple had classified these as otherworldly relics, and now he understood why. They were truly dregs. Undeterred, Qin Ming dragged his crippled body back into the act, testing all the relics from the jars. By the end, he was nearly dead himself. This was the result of his daily consumption of precious medicinal substances as a prospective core disciple, which restored his body's vitality. Otherwise, he would have died long ago. In essence, he had pushed himself to the absolute limit during this trial. When he exited the simulation and viewed it from an outsider's perspective, he realized that the so-called great medicine, discarded items, and other phenomena were merely strands of qi, all illusory. Qin Ming knew his time in the divine immortal Taoist temple was limited. The moment he died in the simulation, he would be forced to exit and leave. During his time there, he had collected some immortal Taoist medicine formulas and obtained scriptures accessible only to prospective core disciples. Finally, he died prematurely in the simulation and was forced to leave. Chen Bingyan, Ren Yiping, and the others were stunned. The man who had been hailed as the strongest young guard had passed away so quickly. Seated in the thick fog before the mountain gate, Qin Ming took a long time to recover. He had been too deeply immersed in the simulation. The grueling years of cultivation and the final death experience felt like genuine memories. This place is utterly bizarre. If you regret something in life, you can start over. He knew this place was most effective for immortal seeds and divine seeds. Some had already reached the third realm, and a few might even be able to usurp the core disciples. Qin Ming planned to rest and digest his gains. He shared the medicinal formulas and other knowledge with Yu Zhensheng and Zhao Ziwan. Zheng Maoz and Zheng Yuan wanted to enlist the help of experts from the immortal path to take revenge on that awakener. However, after searching everywhere, they couldn't find suitable candidates. They lacked the necessary influence. The top-tier immortal seeds were all busy infiltrating different Dao lineages, vying for the position of core disciple, and securing various benefits. Who would bother with their request? While they were close to Li Qingshu, immortal seed Li had fallen into a peculiar cycle. After his crushing defeat in the secret realm, he had faced one setback after another here. Li Qingshu had entered 3 Dao lineages in succession. After immersing himself deeply in each, he challenged the ancient heavenly prodigies, only to suffer humiliating defeats each time. He even self-mockingly suggested changing his name to Li the Defeated. Yet this time, no one criticized him, nor did anyone dare to look down on him. He was taking on formidable opponents, and those who had challenged him had all been defeated. The top-tier ancient Dao lineages indeed contained second-realm prodigies whose strength far surpassed many people's expectations. Several mountain gates and their special figures had already gained notoriety, regarded as untouchable prospective core disciples. After Qin Ming's sudden death, he could no longer enter the first Dao lineage. After resting and recovering, he entered another mountain gate. He resolved to proceed steadily, avoiding any hasty choices involving otherworldly essence or otherworldly relics. He planned to cultivate first, laying a solid foundation, before seeking rare substances to nourish the heavenly light and test his techniques. However, before that, he needed to establish a sufficiently high status. He wouldn't be able to obtain resources here. The second Dao lineage displayed extraordinary immortal clan splendor. Cloud mist transformed into colossal dragons, coiling in the sky, while the sun-drenched forests glowed with golden radiance. Suddenly, the tranquility was shattered as a fierce battle erupted in the golden sea of trees. It's him. I was avoiding him, I didn't want any trouble. How did he find me again? Zheng Maozi's pupils constricted as he spotted the detestable awakener once more. Zheng Yuan was even more stunned. The current generation's guard was facing one of the most formidable opponents imaginable. Recently, countless Immortal Path disciples had been crushed by this foe. Qin Ming was beginning to doubt his life choices, for the battle was proving incredibly difficult. His opponent was a white-haired youth, whose immortal techniques were endless. He even unleashed a consciousness slash that seemed to ignore space, the sword's radiant light streaking towards Qin Ming's forehead. At the critical moment, Qin Ming activated the Golden Silkworm scripture, unleashing his ultimate technique, the Golden Silkworm Force Domain. This distorted the consciousness slash, shattering the attack. In this battle, Qin Ming and the white-haired youth clashed hundreds of times. Qin Ming repeatedly unleashed his ultimate techniques, smashing his opponent with the Wuji seals and striking with the Li Fire Shuttle, finally forcing the youth to vomit blood and his body to be torn open. The 8 great extraordinary techniques each corresponded to a unique ultimate technique. Qin Ming had to employ at least 5 of these ultimate techniques to finally slay his tenacious opponent. Sitting there, Qin Ming reflected, have I become arrogant recently? Why was this battle so difficult? This opponent was in the mid-stage of the second realm, a minor realm higher than Qin Ming. Yet it had taken all of Qin Ming's ruthless tactics and a full arsenal of techniques to defeat him. Li Qingshu was likely also in the mid-stage of the second realm. Qin Ming had previously assumed that even at his early stage of the second realm, he could defeat Li Qingshu. Now, he began to seriously reconsider, have I overestimated my own strength? Even within the same early stage, there are differences. I haven't absorbed the otherworldly essence or mastered the corresponding techniques yet. I'm still a blank slate, with plenty of room for improvement, he reassured himself. In the distance, both the ancient Immortal Path disciples and the outside world participants were stunned. Who was that? He had taken down the most formidable, immortal bone, among the major mountain gates. The Pure Land, Immortal Land, and Calamity Land had all sent their strongest challengers to test him, only to be utterly crushed. Now, a mere awakener had taken down the white-haired youth, replacing him. Li Qingshu's crushing defeat had begun with facing this person, leading to his downfall. Impossible. Some couldn't believe it, finding it utterly absurd. Could this be a closed-door disciple of a founding ancestor on the path of awakening, personally trained as a hidden disciple in this era? Otherwise, there was no explanation for such an outrageously powerful outer saint. You two again, come here. Qin Ming spotted big strong Zheng and Zheng Yuan in the distance. What do you want? Both were traumatized. This awakener was simply too monstrous. He had slain the person the immortal seed Li Qingshu couldn't subdue. Qin Ming said, you two. Become my guards. You're defying the heavens. Zheng Yuan shouted. Bang. His consciousness' spiritual light was shattered, but this time, he wasn't sent away. He knew Qin Ming had deliberately held back, showing restraint. The onlookers were stunned to see 2 Immortal Path disciples reduced to serving an awakener as guards. Zheng Mao's and Zheng Yuan quickly surrendered. Just 2 slaps shattered their worldview. Qin Ming, however, lost interest. He waved his hand, dismissing the 2 men. He needed to test his techniques here and couldn't let such people witness them. This time, using his status as a prospective core disciple, he obtained various precious medicines and other resources. Then, he began practicing from the Silk Book's technique of the second realm. This was his fundamental scripture, profoundly deep and naturally containing the health-preserving techniques required for the second realm, which could resist the body's erosion from refining exotic essence and absorbing otherworldly essence. After reaching the second realm, the wood qi absorbed by circulating the Yi Mu scripture is unsuitable for refining into heavenly light, but it's excellent for nourishing the physical body. Excellent. In truth, every extraordinary technique contains its own health-preserving methods, each forming a complete system rather than a simple force technique or a killing move. Even the violent Li Fire scripture could be used to refine the physical body with fire, a unique form of health preservation that stimulated the body. The 5 elements divine technique, which connects to the 5 viscera, and the resonance of their 5 scriptural principles. Their health-preserving effects seem exceptional. During the early stages in this Dao lineage, Qinming focused on cultivation, strengthening his inner core, while consuming the sect's precious medicines to accelerate his progress. Afterward, he seriously pondered how to choose the divine substances. Before my outer saint cultivation breaks through to the mid-stage, how do I want the heavenly light to manifest? One thought for daylight, one thought for night. With a goal in mind, the next step was to choose the means. Qinming used his authority to begin requisitioning various resources, such as earthly otherworldly qi and nine heavens pure qi. Most things related to darkness are of yin attribute, while those connected to daylight are typically of yang attribute. Qinming embarked on another journey of experimentation. In the end, with a single thought, his heavenly light turned pitch black, engulfing the area around him. With another thought, his own being blazed forth like a scorching sun hanging high in the sky. Even with the resources stacked to the absolute limit, the process still took a considerable amount of time. Qinming frowned. More importantly, the power of his heavenly light was only satisfactory, falling short of his expectations. This won't do. I'm too reliant on external resources. If I had sun fire essence and lunar essence, my day and night heavenly lights would undoubtedly be far stronger. But where in the real world could he gather such top-tier otherworldly essences? Since the ultimate goal is to cast aside external things and refine to the purest state, could I start without using any otherworldly essences at all, yet still rapidly stimulate the heavenly light's nirvana? At present, he was dissatisfied with both the time consumed, the resources required, and the final power of his heavenly light. He felt there had to be a more ingenious technique. Qinming repeatedly tested his techniques, constantly verifying them, until he finally exhausted himself to death in this Dao lineage. After his latest demise, he rushed to the next Dao lineage. In the third Dao lineage, Qinming learned that the Dao lineage's treasury contained sap from the immortal tree of the Kunling ruins. This led him to suspect that the sect might also harbor living individuals. While experimenting here, he pushed himself to the brink of death when he sensed an anomaly. A living person was spying on him. Are the guards of later generations this desperate? What is he doing, drawing the fire essence of otherworldly stars into his flesh and blood? Has he gone mad? Ah, there it is, death by exhaustion. Trial failed. Qinming moved from one Dao lineage to the next, as if rushing through a performance. The Dao lineage he entered now contained many disciples of the esoteric sect. Here, he gained inspiration. The terrain was complex, suggesting that ancient beings had once subdued this place, using it to ascend to spirithood, and then severed their connection to it. Could my heavenly light also achieve this? Using existing resources to create something new. As Qinming pondered these ideas, his thoughts inevitably turned to the contents of the life-altering scripture. Soon, he became a core disciple and discovered that after stepping onto the divine path, various choices lay before him. He began studying one of these paths while also scrutinizing the special terrain. Qinming ultimately threw himself into the fray, dying in a cave with anomalous magnetic fields. Even if I get deeply into character, I won't take it seriously afterward. What's there to fear in death? I'll just try another one. At the second esoteric sect Dao lineage, Qinming defeated a formidable young disciple, once again causing a stir. Without a doubt, this was another tough, divine bone, that had blocked many esoteric sect elites, all of whom had failed their challenges. Who is this guy? He's too fierce. He actually split that ancient heavenly prodigy blocking his path in two. Good grief, my ears are still ringing from the shock. Though all were acting their parts, and the ancient figures they encountered hadn't truly lived to this era, their combat prowess was undeniable. The scene left many stunned. Some were old acquaintances, Xin Yudao, Lu Yuji, and Zhouya were all present. As dual-path practitioners, they watched in awe. Only Xin Yudao recognized the person. Even knowing his background, he remained momentarily lost in thought. Today, Qinming had challenged both the immortal and divine paths, all to test his limits and discover the path best suited for him. By day's end, he had died 8 times. The trial of techniques yielded excellent results, allowing him to accumulate valuable experience. This was primarily due to his repeated recklessness and self-destructive experimentation, truly putting the techniques into practice. During this time, Qinming discovered that some individuals who became too deeply immersed in their roles were indeed unable to break free, becoming assimilated into the world. However, he didn't find Ning Siqi, which came as a relief. Qinming believed that at least 3 Dao lineages still had living members. He wasn't the only one to notice this. Some immortal seeds and divine seeds had also sensed it and were seeking to connect the ancient divine immortal Taoist temples with the outside world immortal path and esoteric sects. The first Dao lineage was shrouded in white mist, and the crystal coffins within showed signs of life, their occupants communicating with each other. Chu Pianren said, "In this era, even guards have become incredibly powerful. We should step out now, or we'll be left behind by the times. Indeed, we should seize this opportunity to escape Kunling. If this place is sealed again, we don't know when the next era will arrive." The descendants who inherit our Dao lineage are near immortality, yet have abandoned it, all for the sake of seeking the true path. They possess greater courage than we do. We should interact with them more to witness the splendor of this era of the 100 schools of thought. Qinming mused to himself, that across the immortal, divine spirit, and Yin Earth's ghost paths, at least 3 ancient paths had been sealed within the Kunling realm. Now, with the emergence of Yin Earth and the revelation of divine immortal Taoist temples, it was as if some spirit gods and ghosts were being unleashed, adding new hues to the night mist world. That day, Xiaowu also visited several Dao lineages, gaining valuable insights. Let's leave this place for now, Qinming said. In fact, representatives from the 6 imperial ancestral court, Qingtian sect, Jade Pure sect, and others had already arrived. Having learned of the presence of living beings here, they were all preparing to withdraw. In a sense, the divine immortal Taoist temples that had revived here were close relatives to the later beyond the mortal realm and esoteric sects. The scriptures Qinming obtained all pertained to the immortal and divine spirit. He found the techniques of the ancient guards rather contemptible, as the senior elders who practiced them lived truly miserable lives. Though these individuals were called guards, they were, in reality, mere servants. And now, in this era, some sought to recreate that scene, defining the awakeners as guards. Qinming frowned. With the passing of several founding ancestors, could the people on the path of awakening truly end up as guards? That's our greatest fear. Yu Zhensheng and Zhao Ziwan sighed in Yellow Sand City. However, upon arriving at the Hong Yan Tavern and seeing number 1 beauty, the former most beautiful woman in the land, now over 100 years old, their wrinkled faces lit up with smiles, like old orange peels smoothing out. Ayan, you're as radiant as ever. Hearing this, Qinming and Xiaowu felt goosebumps rise all over their bodies and quickly made their exit. Several days later, Kunling, which had recently calmed down, was once again thrown into turmoil. Crimson heavenly thunder raged, and scarlet lightning intertwined, filling the sky above the entire region. The thick black clouds were shattered, and the land was once again bathed in the night sky. On that day, the Yin Earth area was filled with the wails of ghosts, a scene that could be described as a night of 10,000 ghosts. Whether dormant or already roaming, the half-rotted monsters howled and fled in panic. Their undoing lay in their advanced state of decay. With blurred consciousness, even the frigid Yin Earth could no longer fully suppress their lifespan. As a result, many who had been traveling the ghost path found themselves disoriented and without any escape routes planned. Only a small group of fully revived ghost cultivators fled in a frenzy, breaking through the Kunling realm and creating a new path through the night mist world. The ghost path, one of the 4 great evil paths of the ancient era, had reappeared in the human world. In this era of blooming flowers, it would once again need to forge a new path. In the area of the divine immortal Taoist temple, some living beings had truly had their lifespans frozen, and emerged intact. When Kunling underwent another upheaval, they calmly crossed through the night mist and departed. In the outside world, people watched as the black mist dissipated, revealing mountains and rivers that blurred and slowly vanished. The recently expanded Kunling was returning to its former state. Kunling has been sealed again. Do the founding ancestors intend to return? The news sent shockwaves through the crowd. As the message spread across the land, the entire night mist world was thrown into turmoil, and the world was shaken to its core. Crimson lightning tore through the heavens, shattering black clouds and striking various locations within the legendary lands. Distant observers noticed that the falling bolts formed regular patterns, resembling intricate, mysterious patterns. Boom. 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 The earth blurred, mountains receded into the distance, and some regions vanished completely. Just as many had feared, terrifying energy fluctuations emanated from afar that day, ancestor-level figures were returning, and a great battle was underway. You demons dared to try and seal us in the unknown depths of ancient Kunling. Do you think that's possible? It's time to settle the score. With that declaration, everyone understood what had transpired. The founding ancestors from various paths had unexpectedly left the mortal realm and entered the sealed lands, but they had returned with composure and were now preparing to clash with the auspicious beasts and their allies in a decisive battle. The auspicious beasts and their allies had been desperately reinforcing the seal, trying to block the ancestors' return, but they had failed. Now, the passage had been breached. In truth, had the ancestors not been driven by their quest for secrets, they would have returned long ago. You dare to collude with the races deep within the night mist world. Before we could even begin the great pioneering war, you demons have come from afar to interfere. Outside the third forbidden zone, a ferocious battle erupted. Not only did the earlier combatants engage, but the distant trumpeting of elephants pierced the night sky as dragon elephants arrived from afar to join the fray. Senior elders from the immortal path, standing within a golden great sun and treading on clouds, swooped down toward the battlefield. Though the battle was fierce, its outcome had long been decided. The auspicious beast's only hope was to surprise everyone by sealing them within the Kunling ancient land, but that plan had failed. Beneath the night sky, the massive golden silhouette of the auspicious beast roared, towering like a small mountain. Already wounded, its flesh was now torn asunder. Multiple founding ancestors struck the auspicious beast in unison, vying for its life-extending auspicious blood. Several other demons were also severely wounded. By daybreak, the plateau outside the third forbidden zone was shattered. All the auspicious beasts residing there, along with their summoned allies, were slaughtered. Not a single top-tier demon escaped. People watched as golden auspicious beast's blood splattered across the land. After its body exploded, the remains were divided. Multiple blazing suns swept across the sky, scorching the earth and leaving not a drop of the precious blood uncollected. As per the original plan, the hunt begins now. All juniors may participate. Do not let a single demon escape this plateau. This is a crude rehearsal for the great pioneering war. Participants will be rewarded based on their strength and combat achievements, naturally including auspicious beast's blood. That night, these words spread throughout the Kunling region. Like a large ship that had strayed from its course, the fleet was corrected and steered back onto its original trajectory. The entire plateau has been sealed off. Not a single demon can escape. We will exterminate them all within half a day. That night, all factions worked frantically to prepare. The next day, armies from all directions marched toward the plateau outside the third forbidden zone. Whoever captures the demon seed, Demon 1, will receive double the auspicious beast's blood. Someone's voice boomed across the night sky as the armies advanced, like the roar of heavenly thunder. Meanwhile, discussions erupted among the factions. Different powers and major organizations had their own goals. It's been so long since we've heard from him, Qin Ming. He didn't enter the 6th Imperial Ancestral Court, where did he go in the end? So what if he's an extraordinary individual? Even with peerless innate talent, he has no future. He'll inevitably end up on the hopeless path of awakening. He's no threat. But I suspect he might have mastered the Silk Book technique. The Kunling realm seethed with tension as all factions converged on the plateau, determined to resolve the conflict within half a day. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, Night Without Borders. Chapter 234, A Surprising Harvest. Author, Chen Dong. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. During the 6th Imperial Ancestral Court's recent assessment in the world's fringe regions, several strange-blooded demonic beasts were killed, and it's suspected he was involved. This performance far exceeds expectations. The Kui clan had recently investigated the matter, and some members wore grave expressions. It must be remembered that Kui Chongshuan had been practicing the Six Sovereigns' Heart scripture for several years and was already an extraordinary individual. Yet even he could only flee from those old demons. He had only been on the path of awakening for a few months at the time. How could he possibly surpass Chongshuan, who had been cultivating the 6th Imperial Force for years? Unless Qin Ming had already mastered legendary force techniques, he had never been exposed to the Tathagata Force, Jade Pure Force, or similar techniques. The only text he had studied thoroughly was the Silk Book, which he had been practicing since childhood. This book was, after all, the product of collaborative research by multiple founding ancestors. How is this possible? Without guidance, no one can master the Silk Book technique. Nothing is impossible. What if his innate talent is simply that extraordinary? Some members of the Kui clan argued. Then it occurred to them that Qin Ming had always learned everything remarkably quickly since childhood. If someone hadn't misguided him onto a path doomed to failure, leading him to become obsessed with the Silk Book, his other achievements would likely have been astonishing. Looking back now, could it be that their interference is what created this monster? I hope we're wrong. We never should have let him practice the refined Silk Book technique in the first place. Clearly, some people were filled with regret. In the antique study, a silver-haired elder with a ruddy complexion sighed softly. What a promising child you all pushed away. He set down his teacup and tapped the table. If there's suspicion, kill him sooner rather than later. Someone is protecting him, a middle-aged woman said. The elder's expression remained calm. If he were ordinary, we could simply suppress him at Black and White Mountain. But if he's truly extraordinary and has already turned against us, why keep him alive? Some nodded. If old Kui VII hadn't intervened back then, Qin Ming would have died, and none of this would have happened. The silver-haired elder took a sip of tea. He's just a family-born servant. A mere flick of the wrist could kill him. Better sooner than later. Such a monumental event is Kunling, who wouldn't covet the auspicious blood. If he's truly extraordinary, he should have emerged to compete. In the darkness, many strange birds darted through the storm clouds, lightning sparrows, thunder falcons, and other swift flyers, carrying urgent messages. In the Kunling realm, everyone rushed to the scene, from the noble clans and academy disciples to the great sects along the major routes and countless rogue cultivators. Outside the third forbidden zone, the air filled with the clamor of battle, and the plateau beneath the night sky descended into chaos. Hey, you old geezers of the third realm. Have some shame. Is there any glory in slaughtering first realm demons? A Vajra parrot squawked from the sky. A group of experts erupted in fury, their eyes narrowing as they looked up. Did this bird eat bear heart and leopard courage? They were prepared to strike it down. The Vajra parrot glowed with Vajra force, its golden form dazzling against the night sky. It shouted urgently, "Everyone." These were the founding ancestors' exact words, "I'm just the messenger." He said your headhunting will not only be futile but will also deduct your battle records. No auspicious blood for you. Let alone the founding ancestors' messenger, even a chicken from the founding ancestors' doorstep would have been addressed as a phoenix. Who would dare strike it now? The killing intent subsided. On the plateau, the banners of the millennial clans fluttered in the wind. Experts from beyond the mortal realm streaked across the sky with consciousness spiritual light, while the elite of the esoteric sect moved with purpose. Countless rogue cultivators fought in bloody battles, their emotions running high. Everyone scrambled for glory, and the plateau was stained crimson with blood as they vied for battle achievements. Everyone, only kills recorded in memory crystals will count. Don't even think about privately hoarding spoils to trade for auspicious blood. Someone shouted. The slaughter raged across every region. In truth, the demons were counter-attacking fiercely, their fearless and ferocious attacks putting immense pressure on all sides, resulting in heavy casualties. Yet the forces on all fronts remained confident. After all, the founding ancestors had already eliminated the highest-tier demons like the auspicious beasts and other ancestor-level demons. Could the rest truly turn the tide? The major organizations and rogue cultivators alike held a psychological advantage, knowing their side would ultimately prevail. As a result, many armies fought with frenzied abandon, their blood staining the plateau crimson. Ah, how I miss those glorious days. An ancient figure reminisced. During the last great pioneering war, we carved out new territory, drove back the encroaching Dark Clan, and tunneled through tens of thousands of miles. What a thrill it was. At the plateau's edge stood several extremely aged figures, their faces etched with nostalgia. Back then, each faction competed fiercely, vying for glory deep within the night mist world. Daring warriors would lead small teams into enemy territory, charging through the ranks with reckless abandon. Many great families were forged through such means, seizing vast territories, achieving great feats, and reaping immense rewards. Each great pioneering war saw the rise of new powers and the emergence of heavenly prodigies who rivaled the founding ancestors. Now, as many watched the battle on the plateau, they eagerly anticipated another great pioneering era. Some elders hoped their families would rise to prominence, while ambitious powerhouses sought to find great fortune in the depths of the night mist, aiming to become ancestor-level figures. In essence, the entire night mist world, from top to bottom, craved another great pioneering war, and the collective will was nearly formed. Thus, even though the current scene was merely a rehearsal, it already stirred excitement in many. After the Vajra parrot's call for the elders to show some restraint, the battlefield now had clear tiers of combatants, each facing opponents of suitable strength. This left many opportunities for the younger generation. Qinming and Xiaowu also entered the fray. Since the older generation had stopped snatching demons, their gains began to surge. At this moment, they had separated, like two flood dragons parting the sea, cleaving through the waves and surging forward, relentlessly slaughtering demons. Far behind them, a golden ram, sturdier than any ox or horse, pulled an iron-plated war chariot, tasked with collecting the duo's spoils. This was Jin Shang, a graduate of the Shan Mountain and River Academy, who normally pulled carts in Kunling City to make a living, all for the sake of refining his heart in the mortal world. Today, he had been hired at a high price by Qinming and Xiaowu to haul demon heads and occasionally record their exploits using memory crystals. In the night sky, several elders stood atop different high-grade exotic birds, gazing down upon the blood-red plateau. A man in his 40s or 50s chuckled, "Your generation of the path of awakening is really lacking. You're all just running in circles. I doubt you'll get much auspicious blood this time." "Not necessarily," Yu Zhensheng retorted. He and Zhao Ziwan were also present. Though they were both at the same level of power as the others, while their peers remained vibrant and maintained their youth through cultivation, these two had grown too old. This was the harsh reality of reaching the end of the path of awakening. It was a trial of endurance. Those who succeeded had to outlive their peers by decades, no longer truly belonging to the same generation. Is that so? Aside from the Tathagata, 6 imperial, and Qingtian Dao lineages, the path of awakening seems to have withered. None of Kunling's academies has produced a truly outstanding awakener. We can't speak for other regions, but we could discuss how to manage Kunling's academies. Instead of wasting auspicious blood on hopeless paths, we should concentrate our resources on cultivating a few truly gifted prodigies. Clearly, someone was dissatisfied with the performance of the path of awakening. Though Qinming was reserved, he wasn't one to keep a low profile. Without the protection of the 5-colored light wheel, he unleashed a barrage of killing techniques, carving a path through the battlefield. Danger ahead, 15 li. Some second realm experts have fallen there, a strange bird reported from the night sky. The battlefield was teeming with spiritual birds, serving as messengers and relaying information across the battlefield. Upon receiving the message, Qinming immediately accelerated. The surrounding vegetation swayed violently as Yi-Mu essence chi surged, lifting him into the air and propelling him forward in long, soaring leaps. Along the way, any demons that blocked his path were swiftly cut down. Under the moonlight, the plateau echoed with battle cries. Shadows flickered as demons and humans clashed, their blood staining the vegetation crimson. An underground palace. Qinming exclaimed in surprise. This place housed a nest of demons, their ancestors once having been powerful giant demons. But their glory had long faded. Now, only an old demon had barely reached the third realm, and he was frail and withered, his vitality severely depleted. Even in his weakened state, he remained formidable, having already slain several reckless intruders. The old demon is on his last legs. Let's team up and take him down. Some youths shouted, their blood boiling at the prospect of slaying a third realm demon. Qinming agreed. The old demon was indeed decaying, barely clinging to existence. He even felt that he alone would be enough. Soon, a bloody battle erupted. The group of youths suffered casualties, with blood flowing and bodies falling as they struggled to overcome the old demon. The stalemate triggered panic. Qinming stepped forward, blending into the crowd as he struck. One slash nearly severed the old demon's shoulder, leaving his arm dangling uselessly as blood gushed forth. I've eaten my fill of humans in this life. Even death now would be no loss, the old demon snarled, his white hair bristling and his pupils glowing with a sickly green light as he lunged forward. Squelch. He failed to harm Qinming, instead receiving another sword strike that nearly severed his second arm. Yes. Let's kill him together. The other youths shouted excitedly. Qinming, still amidst the crowd, struck again. The weakened old demon could no longer withstand the attack. His head flew off, severed by the gleaming blade. Someone cheered, the old demon is dead. We've finally dealt with him. This is a cave abode that once housed a giant demon. Search carefully, we might find rare treasures. Another said, brother, you did the most, so the old demon's head is yours. In truth, they hadn't grasped Qinming's true strength, assuming he was merely a fresh reinforcement. They believed his success was due to the old demon's own decline. Qinming naturally claimed the head. However, someone stepped forward and blocked him, saying, there are many experts from my Li family here who contributed greatly. You shouldn't be the one to claim the honor of beheading it. Someone was trying to steal the credit. Many faces changed. Could it be the Li family from one of the quasi-millennial clans? There were only 4 of you, and you merely participated in the siege. You made no special contributions, did you? Qinming asked, having already severed the old demon's head. Who said there were only 4 of us? Many more were responsible for sealing off the key passages and exits of the underground palace. 5 more people stepped forward. Qinming sneered, ignoring them. Anyone could see this was a blatant attempt to steal credit. They had been too afraid to approach the third realm old demon earlier, but now they were acting so boldly. Put down the old demon's head. Someone from the Li family demanded. I have a memory crystal here. Don't make things difficult for yourselves, Qinming replied coldly. At the same time, a sword flashed, its edge shimmering with kaleidoscopic colors. The blinding heavenly light force struck the eyes of the Li family members, causing their eyes to ache and their consciousness spiritual light to nearly burn away. Horrified, they quickly retreated, daring not to interfere. Qinming ignored them and moved like a spirit or ghost, searching the vast underground palace. The palace was massive, carved from natural caves and expanded into numerous stone chambers. However, too many people had entered. After eliminating the demon horde, everyone was now scavenging, and there likely weren't many treasures left to find. Moreover, this demon clan had long since declined, leaving little behind. Qinming and the others stormed the clan's treasury, only to find it utterly empty, pitifully barren. Among a pile of rusted weapons, he picked up a pitch-black stone. It was as large as a washbasin, completely charred as if struck by lightning. During Qinming's 9th awakening, his eyes mutated, surpassing even the spiritual eye. Now, with his pupils burning hot, he scrutinized the object before him. Instantly, his eyes ached. Within the black stone, he saw a dazzling, fiery light. Star fire essence. Qinming was shocked. He wouldn't have recognized it before. During his time in the divine immortal Taoist temples, he had seen it only once, a tiny cluster worth a king's ransom. Some star fire essence was even a variant of sun fire essence. Qinming had devised several techniques for his outer saint path, one of which required alternating between day and night with a single thought, a feat requiring sun fire essence. But finding such a thing in this night mist-shrouded world was unrealistic, especially since the sun itself had vanished. Now, he realized he was close to realizing one of his concepts, having found the most crucial, otherworldly essence. This nest of demons must have had some truly wealthy and powerful ancestors. They must have been quite formidable back in the day. Qinming marveled. He then found a secluded spot and stored the pitch-black stone in his tattered cloth space. At that moment, his heart swelled with joy, and an irrepressible smile spread across his face. Worth it. Qin Ming thought, considering it a true surprise. Even if he couldn't obtain the auspicious beast's blood, he didn't care. In his eyes, this charred stone was a priceless divine artifact. The exit of the underground palace was guarded by over a dozen Li family members, blocking Qin Ming's path. Their leader, who seemed to have just arrived from afar, wore a bronze mask, had a robust physique, and wielded a bronze staff. Halt! A member of the Li family shouted. Qin Ming immediately swung his sword, its edge forged with heavenly light force, and slashed forward. The masked man blocked Qin Ming's light blade with his staff. Both were surprised by the other's strength. In an instant, they exchanged a flurry of blows, their movements as swift as lightning, leaving trails of afterimages in the area. Their fierce battle raged. Finally, the masked figure was sent flying backward, spitting blood. Qin Ming seized the opportunity and vanished into the night. The Li family members were stunned. They knew their comrade's capabilities, how could he have been defeated? Li Qingshu stood up, his heart wounded. A mere awakener had defeated him. He had suffered nearly 10 consecutive defeats in recent days. He accepted his repeated defeats at the divine immortal Taoist temple. After all, those were formidable opponents, all ancient heavenly prodigies. But today, even a random awakener had struck him down, leaving him spitting blood. This left him utterly dazed. Qingshu, don't dwell on it, someone consoled. You temporarily transformed your consciousness spiritual light into heavenly light force using an exotic treasure, altering your form and mental energy field. This isn't your true strength, it was just an accident. It's fine. I don't mind losing a few more times, Li Qingshu said, sitting on the ground, his eyes deep and thoughtful. The Li family members regretted their greed and pride, which had led to the immortal seed of their clan suffering another defeat. They were well aware of Li Qingshu's recent struggles. If his Tao heart were damaged, none of them could bear the consequences. Qin Ming felt this plateau was a treasure trove and needed to be thoroughly searched. His performance on the battlefield grew increasingly dazzling, stunning the entire area. Among the awakeners, several are suspicious and remarkably powerful. I wonder if he's among them, a Kui clan member monitoring the battlefield closely noted. If we confirm it's him, we should help him gain fame. He's far too low-key. I suspect many will become interested without our intervention, Cao Qianzhou, for example. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, Night Without Borders. Chapter 235, Dumbfounded. Author, Chen Dong. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Immediately, someone objected, he's just an awakener. We should handle this quietly. Why would you want to provoke someone like Cao Qianzhou? Are you crazy? Several direct descendants of the Kui clan were present, responsible for intelligence gathering. Hearing this, the others' expressions changed. Who is Cao Qianzhou? One of the most powerful figures in the beyond the mortal realm, in his prime. In this era of the 100 schools of thought, he held the potential to transcend his status as an immortal and ascend to the rank of an ancestor. Someone else retorted, don't play with fire. How can an ancestor-level figure be manipulated by you? Such beings possess extremely sensitive pure yang consciousness spiritual light. They'll sense any threat before it even arises. An elder said gravely, put away your schemes. Everyone else avoids the man like the plague. Why would you actively seek to provoke him? His expression was solemn as he scanned the night sky. If Cao Qianzhou was still on the plateau and overheard them, the consequences would be terrifying. Kui Cheng chuckled. Gentlemen, calm yourselves. I merely mentioned it in passing. Using someone else's sword to kill, how could it be so crude? We'll just add a few more twists to the message. Someone shook their head, arguing that this overcomplication was unnecessary. If we can confirm his identity, we should go and kill him ourselves. No need for extra complications. Kui Cheng smiled. I aim to draw more people into this. Meng Xinghai and Li Qingyan want to protect him, don't they? Eliminating them along with him would be even better. Night fell upon the blood-red plateau, the air filled with the clamor of battle. Qin Ming, sword in hand, slashed across the land. For the sake of the auspicious beast's blood, he would not hesitate to unleash his power when necessary, having already slain numerous renowned demons. He paused at a desolate underground palace to examine the dark stone. He was wary of the tattered cloth woven from exotic metal, for it had once devoured the divinity of a great centipede and absorbed the nether force from the ghost pool. If it were to devour the star fire essence completely, he'd have nowhere left to turn. Qin Ming inspected it carefully. Fortunately, it remained well behaved, never actively damaging items stored within its spatial inventory. The black stone, however, was a treasure beyond measure. It could significantly enhance his strength. For a fleeting moment, he was tempted to try refining it now, to feed it the heavenly light and see if it would undergo a violent transformation. But he restrained himself. In the divine immortal Taoist temple, he was merely playing a role. There, he could conduct reckless experiments, courting death repeatedly, pushing the boundaries without consequence. In reality, there was only one chance, either complete success or utter failure, even death. Moreover, he had several plans yet to decide whether to refine the starfire essence. However, he could test its power beforehand. It wouldn't take much time or effort, and he could experience it instantly. Qinming cautiously inspected the goods, as this would influence his future path. Using adhesive force, he levitated a basin-sized stone before his right hand, keeping it separated by nearly a foot of tattered cloth. Then, he began to activate the heavenly light force. Instantly, his pupils stung. The light before him was terrifying, like a burning night sky, incinerating all it touched with fiery torrents, its destructive power unstoppable. The stone wall before the underground palace, originally carved with demon race runes, was rapidly shattered and then melted away, destroyed in the golden radiance. Qinming quickly withdrew his hand, his heart pounding. The heavenly light he channeled and the starfire essence within the black stone briefly fused, creating an immortal sword composed of shattered great suns, a weapon that could cleave through anything. This overwhelming power even startled Qinming. Had he temporarily fused with the otherworldly essence, prematurely experiencing the strength of the mid-stage outer saint? Clearly, this had its flaws. His cultivation hadn't reached the mid-stage outer saint level, and the consumption of heavenly light was immense, allowing only a fleeting glimpse. Moreover, he hadn't refined the starfire essence. Without the tattered cloth to isolate it, he would likely have been consumed by the flames, self-destructing, on the spot. Even an incomplete, mid-stage outer saint could display such dazzling power, which greatly tempted Qinming. This path was extraordinary. Finding only the starfire essence left him needing its opposing counterpart, the Black Knight heterogeneous essence. If he could gather both, how terrifying would that be? The radiant heavenly light that had illuminated everything earlier had given Qinming the sensation that nothing could withstand it. This experience must be related to the pure Yang Palace's techniques. If the heavenly light reaches the extreme Yang level, it would be truly terrifying. Qinming knew that if this otherworldly stone fell into the hands of the pure Yang Palace, it would undoubtedly be considered a supreme treasure. I should be cautious until I've used it to nourish the heavenly light, he frowned. If someone discovers it and comes to kill for the treasure, I'll be in deep trouble. In fact, it wasn't just the pure Yang Palace that would covet this item. The Yin-Yang Temple would undoubtedly consider it a divine treasure, and all the top great sects would eye it with envy. This starfire essence was equally valuable to those on the immortal path and the divine path. Qinming didn't linger. He stored the stone in his tattered cloth space and swiftly departed. Next, he went all out, slaughtering even the most notorious demons and monsters. He continued to push deeper into the plateau. Lu Zizai had told him to give his all in the competition for the auspicious beast's blood. Qinming didn't want to miss this opportunity. Auspicious blood could allow the body to undergo nirvana, significantly shortening the time needed for cultivation and accumulating cultivation progress. It was one of the most sought-after treasures for awakeners. Along the way, his battle achievements steadily increased. After slaughtering several powerful fire ravens at a cliff face piled with human skulls, he estimated he had accumulated enough. He should now be eligible for the auspicious blood. I wonder if the second portion of auspicious blood will still be effective on my body, Qinming thought, hoping to gain another portion of this precious medicine through further efforts. Qingshu has lost again. I hope this doesn't affect his state of mind, a Li family expert said, his brow furrowed in concern as they stood on the plateau. Another replied, I think he's actually freed himself. Changing his identity to temper himself and start anew isn't a bad thing. The plateau is extremely dangerous. What if something happens to him? Someone worried. It's fine. He carries a life-saving, immortal talisman from his sect. He can retreat calmly at critical moments. Meanwhile, masked Li Qingshu journeyed alone, his gaze fixed on the path ahead. A murderous aura radiated from him as he swept through the demons and monsters that littered his way. Several miles away, in another territory, Xiaowu sensed someone competing with him for demons. His harvesting speed had clearly been affected, and he decided to investigate. He suspected some fool was maliciously clearing his hunting grounds. Was this a provocation? Interesting news has arrived. Qinming, the abandoned son of the Kui clan, is suspected of having mastered the Silk Book technique. When the Li family's intelligence department learned of this secret, they immediately became interested. Silk Book. It seems familiar. Where does it come from? It's a scripture jointly researched by multiple founding ancestors on the path of awakening. They claimed it could rival the scriptures of the immortal path and rival the techniques of the esoteric sect for achieving spirithood, ensuring that no other cultivation path would be superior. So that's it. Weren't there many issues with it, making it impossible to cultivate? But Qinming cultivated it using only his own strength. On the plateau, several Li family scions who heard this immediately began scheming. Soon, they learned that Qinming had once clashed with Li Qingshu, nearly being killed. After his skull was shattered, he somehow revived. The Li family naturally had many members who could only follow the path of awakening. Now, they grew serious. This scripture's origins were profound. If it could be mastered, its impact would be far-reaching. Such a silk book, such a man, they were worth their careful study. Some members of the Kui clan chuckled softly. They had, of course, leaked the news themselves, but it had taken several detours before reaching the Li family. Good. They don't know it's our gift. The information is so clean that it completely distances us from any involvement. The Kui clan dared not provoke Cao Qianqiu directly, but subtly manipulating the Li family to take the lead was no problem. Though they had declared a truce with the Li family, the old grudges remained. Had the clan's ancestor not emerged from seclusion, they would have been in dire straits that time. That old fox from the Li family, having accumulated power for years, had now become terrifyingly formidable. In that battle, all our Kui clan elders nearing the end of their lifespans went to their deaths. Such a pity. Once the ancestor emerges from seclusion again, and once Chong reaches a certain level of strength, we must destroy the Li family. The Kui clan's direct descendants vowed fiercely. Then, they smiled, eager to see if Meng Xinghai, Li Qingyan, and the others behind Qinming had made any arrangements and whether they would be drawn into the conflict. Proves. Kui Cheng chuckled. Li family, don't rush. We'll take our time playing with you. An elder of the Kui clan said, if the silk book techniques prove genuine, we'll need to soul search Qinming to uncover the truth. The implications of this matter are enormous. On the blood-colored plateau, after careful deliberation, the Li family began to act. Send this letter out, let it make 2 detours, and then find a way for the Kui clan to intercept it. Let them scout the path for us. After all, Qinming is very close to the hidden clans behind Li Qingyu. Be careful to avoid the Kui clan's smiling tigers. Deliver the message to their most reckless members instead. The Li family remained cautious, choosing not to intervene directly. They desperately wanted the silk book technique and to understand how Qinming had mastered it. However, after careful analysis, they concluded it was unlikely he had achieved this on his own. Perhaps, behind Qinming, a living founding ancestor of the refined silk book still existed, guiding him along that path. Their lack of understanding of Qinming naturally led to such speculation. They wanted to strike, but decided to wait and watch the situation unfold. If they could drag Meng Xinghai, the hidden clans, and the Kui clan into the fray, that would be ideal. What? Our Kui clan intercepted a crucial message, and now some are rushing to assassinate Qinming. Kui Cheng and the others were stunned. This development had far exceeded their expectations. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel.